Welcome to Bon Jovi discussions. Today I have and I know I'm gonna butcher this. I know we practiced beforehand the name, but let me give it a shot again. Mauricio.
Yeah, that's cool. It's good.
Was it right or was it?
Yeah, in Spanish it's Mauricio, but it's Mauricio. It's okay.
You make it sound cooler than I can make it sound. So, but anyway, so you're from Mexico City. So how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for the invite. It's great to be here after
It's,
all this time.
yeah, it's
Thank
great to
you.
have you. I know that we've interacted on Twitter here probably last couple years and stuff, and just kind of talked about this and that over the last couple years and stuff. And so I was looking forward to having you on. So, we'll start off with, how you became a fan and when and all that.
Sure. All right. So, yeah, as you told earlier, I'm from Mexico City, born and raised here, and I became a fan. It was probably back in '88. I was 11 years old. And I do have the moment. Actually, I tweeted about this with you some months ago. But I have a big brother. He's 5 years older than me. So
Okay.
so by that time, he already had a car. I don't know in the States, but here you can start driving at 16.
Yeah, here,
Uh,
same here.
okay, so he had a brand new car, and he had probably, I'm not sure if I'm going to be very accurate about this, but Discmans were coming out, taking over the Walkman at
Uh,
that point.
So what year was this?
88 probably.
88. Okay, so you're showing your age.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
kidding.
don't mind.
Anyway,
I don't mind. I'm 44. I'm proud of my 44.
hey, you look
So
44. That's great.
yeah, so probably it was my brother having a Discman in his car. Of course, cars had no CD slot yet, um, but you had to this is going to bring memories to a bunch of people, I'm sure. You had to insert a cassette, like an adapter, and then connect that cassette had a cable that came out, and you plug it in to the the CD player. Um, and if the car moved a lot, you got a lot of bumps and jumping on the music. So it was you had to hold it if you were a passenger, you had to hold it tight so the music won't stop won't start jumping. So I remember going with my brother to we were on our way to cut our hair, and I don't know why, but when we got there, he went first. I remained in the car, uh, and started listening to Lay Your Hands on Me. But for me, it was, I don't know if it was the first time I heard it or it was the first time I heard it with this big volume, and it was like, oh my God, what is this? So the intro, you know, Lay Your Hands has got to be one of the biggest intros from Bon
Oh,
Jovi's history.
that
Uh,
whole, just for a side note here, with the drums and David's keyboards, that minute or two intro was just awesome. And then the way that they did that live too, to start some of their shows, whether it was on the New Jersey tour or even on these days tour when they had the marching band do it. Man, what a great way to pump up the crowd. But
yeah,
anyway, so with your story.
yeah, don't worry. So that was the beginning. I mean, this big intro, and then the drums and the song starting, and I probably this is something that happens to a lot of people, but for me, when I like an artist, a band very much, it's much about the voice, and and John's voice. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of discussion throughout history if he has or he has not a great voice. I think he has.
Me too.
Uh,
Best singer in the world and still is my favorite singer.
yeah, and but it's not just about being a good or bad singer. It's about what that voice makes you feel. So
It's the way that you deliver the song. Okay, so You know,
exactly.
anyone can, well, I guess not anyone, but you can sing a love song, but you had to sing it in an especially when, so, there's songs that I like that song that the actual artist didn't write. I always respect a song more when I know someone like John wrote that song from a personal experience. Personal experience. Perfect example. I'll Be There for You was primarily written by Richie, but also a little bit by John. Or let's use Better Rose as a better example. Better Rose was written by John. There was a lot of emotion that came from that song when he wrote it. Okay. Now the way that he sang it in the song and the way that he performed it live, there's a part of him that just grabs it from that part that wrote that song and puts a lot of emotion and passion into it. And that's what makes a song so great.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you mention, I'm going to get a little bit off topic here, but now that you mentioned Bed of Roses, the other day I was listening, or not only listening, looking at the "Keep the Faith" an Evening with Bon Jovi
Oh,
video.
yeah, what an amazing
I
video.
hadn't seen that in a lot of years, and it was like, wow, this was one of the first times they did this live. And Bed of Roses, it's amazing how he does that.
You mentioned an evening with Bon Jovi, that 92. So most people that are watching this know what we're talking about, but just in case, an evening with Bon Jovi was a VHS at the time, released in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the very first shows that the band did in preparation of the Keep the Faith tour. And I think they recorded it in New York. And it was a show where they just did it was a big round stage,
Mm-hmm.
and they did covers, amazing cover of We've Got to Get Out of This Place. And then they also did their own songs from the 80s and then new stuff from Keep the Faith. But I'll tell you, I think my favorite performance from that concert was Bad Medicine. I absolutely loved the way they did that. That was cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. I
And
mean, it's funny how Bon Jovi uh, is a reason of Unplugged, and that
yeah,
because of that MTV performance. I think that was probably in the late 80s.
yeah,
And
88, I
then they
think.
did this VH1, which is sort of an unplugged. But they never got to do the unplugged. So it's funny how things went there. But it's good that we all fans know that where the unplugs come from.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So,
so jumping back to topic, Jerry. After that, of course, New Jersey became a very important part of my music history. Of course, I started listening to the previous albums, to Slippery and Wet, and the first two albums, and then there was this period, this 4-year period, where what? No more Bon Jovi? What's happening? So.
well, you had the Blaze of Glory,
Well, yeah, Blaze of Glory was there in the middle, but I
which
was always
solo
trying.
albums. You still had
Yeah,
something. It's like fans that say, "Well, there was nothing from These Days to crush." Well, These Days and Tour was 95, 96. 97, you got a solo album from John. 98, you got a solo album from Richie. And then, 99, we knew that Sex Cells at the time, which became Crush, was getting new. So it wasn't like really a hiatus or like band disappeared, So,
yeah.
but just a
Well,
little, just a little joke on the side, I guess.
yeah, for me, it was an eternity from '88 to '92 with Keep the
Yeah.
Faith, and there was no internet, there was no way of reading that much about what was going on. So you had to. I remember going to stores to read magazines and music magazines, of course, and trying to find news about if they were
Yeah.
coming back or not. Until I remember exactly the moment I was beginning. I think it's high school. The first year after preliminary. Is that what you call it?
I
Primary
think
school.
it's something different. Anyway, I know what you're talking about.
I was probably 13 years old, 14 years old, and this friend came to me with a magazine, and it had an article that talked about Bon Jovi is reuniting, and I was like, yes, finally, after 3-4 years after.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Keep the Faith came out. I remember exactly the moment when I went to buy that CD and went to a friend's house that also liked very much. And the intro also, again, an intro from
I
uh,
believe.
I believe it's like, wow, another great intro and another great CD, of course. I think that Keep the Faith is also one of their biggest albums out
Oh
there.
yeah, I'll always say that I think the '90s era, whether it was Blaze of Glory album, Keep the Faith, these days, I think that was the peak of John's vocals.
Mhm.
Even songwriting, I think his songwriting got a lot better in the '90s. I mean, it was great in the '80s, obviously, but the '90s, I think he really mastered his craft with songwriting, the way that he sung the songs, and just his vocals. I mean, I'll always say this. I think Santa Fe is probably his best vocal song he's ever done.
Yes,
Has to.
that. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if the best. I need to think about that, but it's definitely one of the best,
Yeah.
and it's such a great performance. It's such a great feeling he puts into that song, and
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. On the lyric side, and I think it's because starting on Keep the Faith, John started to get into the social uh, social
Yeah, as he likes to
social
call it.
consciousness, exactly, because you didn't have that in New Jersey, Slippery. That
No.
that was like an era of a little bit more fun, and
Yeah.
but starting with Keep the Faith, the social consciousness
Yeah.
is too of it.
What I think is, the '80s, obviously, they were just, the '80s, if you look back at it, a lot of it was a lot of these bands were just singing about sex, and some bands were singing about drugs, and then rock and roll, and just having an overall good time. And, obviously, the boy girl songs or the breakup
Mhm.
song, all that. And I think with Bon Jovi coming back together in '92, and it was a new decade. Music was changed. The '80s hair bands weren't a thing anymore. So I think John and the band, they had to realize that, and obviously John at this point was 30 years old. He wasn't a 20-year-old. I'm 30 now, and my whole mindset in life has changed from when I was in my 20s. So I think John realized, okay, I'm not into that whole rock or that whole party thing. Let's start writing stuff that actually matters and socially conscious. Um, and obviously, you still had your ballads on there. You still had your fun songs like "I'll Sleep When I'm Dead" or "Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll," "Fear," "Woman in Love." All those, those are fun songs. But songs like "Keep the Faith," "I Believe," um, that was more social. And then obviously, which we'll get into this. I know we wanted to talk about the whole "These Days" album, which we'll get into in a second. But I guess now, because I'm going to talk about "These Days" album was probably their biggest socially conscious album that they've ever done.
Yeah,
Um,
by far.
yeah, so let's get into. I know you wanted to talk about the These Days album in general, so we'll talk about. So we have to start off with what is your absolute favorite song on These Days?
These days, oh my God, it's hard to answer that question since you have this very strong rock song like "Hey God." I love "Hey God."
Yeah,
Uh, the message on "Hey God," how John also delivers it live. Uh, an amazing song with a lot of again social conscious or consciousness behind it. But on the other side, you have songs like "Lie to Me," which is, I think, also one of their greatest ballads.
yeah.
Uh,
That to me was probably "Lie to Me" was probably one of those songs that kind of tied in with the boy girl thing, but
mhm.
also with the hard times that people were going through. It's still to this day people can relate to that song because the song is about, at least to me, a boy and a girl, or girl, girl, boy, boy, whatever, what have you. And just the love between the two people going through hard times. And everything's going bad in their life. Employment, the the cost of things, life. Like in the first verse, rumor has that Jadez coming down to pay the rent. So they can't afford the rent, and the one thing that's pulling them, the only thing that's pulling them through is love.
Mm-hmm.
And as the song suggests, if you don't love me, lie to me, because baby, you're the one thing that I believe. If you lose that, you lose yourself, and you've lost everything. So that song particularly just has such a great social aspect to it, and then the love between two people
Mm-hmm.
come together.
Yes.
So I really like that, as far as a Bon Jovi song goes.
And I think that it's interesting what you're saying, and I think that somehow, because I understand the context is somewhat different, because unless I'm getting it wrong, it talks about a lover relationship, but then you have songs like Damned, where it's also sort of a love song, but on a different context. But it's also
That's
got to do with a lot of social stuff, and how that relationship is also the meaning of holding on to something, or the reason of holding on to something. So it's very interesting how you get this different messages or different contexts in different songs from these days.
yeah. With Damned, that song is, to me, is all about, a woman cheating on her husband with another man, and that one was more of a, I don't want to say fun, but fun song on the album. Just kind of like, like Hey God, it's obviously a serious song, but it's also a fun song to rock out to.
Mhm.
Uh, but you didn't answer my question though. What is your absolute? Because I'm curious. What is your absolute favorite song in these days?
I think I'd have to say "Lie to Me."
Lie to me. Okay, okay. Mine would be Hearts Breaking Even. I absolutely love. It's Hard Letting You Go and Something to Believe in come pretty close to that though.
Yeah.
But Hearts Breaking Even, this kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the episode. The way that John will write a song from the heart, and then the way that he sings it, the way that he sings it in the song has so much passion, especially in the chorus. Hey, I lied. Yeah, I almost died. I
Hmm.
cried, I lied, I almost died. And just the way that he says that, I mean, that makes you feel that song. That makes you get goosebumps, and your heart sings and goes, damn, I can relate to that, because we've all been in that kind of relationship where we know that it's time to throw in the cards. We know that this isn't going to work out ever, and we're breaking up, and this is it, and I love the title, Hearts Breaking Even, and that one line too in the bridge, broken hearts can't call the cops. Yeah, it's the perfect crime. Man, that's probably my favorite line out of the whole album. You know, I
It's
just
a great line.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's a great line. It's a great song also. Yeah, to be honest, it's not uh, on my top three of the album, but I mean, the whole album is great. Usually, there's this one song from each album that I say, eh, it's good, but like for example, 99 in the Shade in New Jersey,
Yeah.
it's one that I would take off. And I
Okay.
mean, I like they mentioned Tommy and Gina,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but
So
other yeah, go ahead.
so for me, I would say the song that I would, and I know I'll get some backlash on this because it's a fan favorite. The one song that I would take off of these days would be Diamond Ring. It's a great song. I enjoy it, but I like the New Jersey demo a lot better because it was more electric guitar, a lot more drums, and just the vocals were kind of more raw. And because that's when they originally wrote and recorded that song, was in '88 during the New Jersey, and then it didn't make the album, and then they took it back out, re-recorded it, and put it on these days. But I prefer the New Jersey demo a lot more of it. But Diamond Ring, I would have. It makes sense that it made that because it's a great song and it's a fan favorite. Me personally, I would have taken that off and I would have put on All I Want Is Everything, which didn't make it on the US album. I know it made it to some European editions, but if I had to pick one that didn't make on any edition, I'd say Wedding Day. Wedding Day was such a fantastic
Yeah, I
song,
know.
you
I
know.
know.
Um, but before we get into the outtakes, let's talk about the overall theme of the album. So obviously, and for the longest time, I always wondered this. John had said, because a lot of people, even the critics, said that this is their darkest album. John actually and Richie have said that this is actually their most positive album they've ever written. And so it took me a long time to realize that. But now I've really dug deep in the lyrics and the meaning of these songs and all that. And to me, I think it's one of those songs where you're down on your luck, misery loves company type of thing, but you're finding that optimism, you're finding that hope. To sum it all up, this album is the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. You're in a tunnel, but you're going towards that light, and that's where the positivity is. That's how I interpret it.
That's an interesting interpretation. I hadn't thought about it that way. To me, it has always been like the darkest album
Yeah.
on the whole collection. I mean, 2020 has also a dark side, but in a very different way. These days, I was chatting with some friends the other day about the grunge era. So and Nirvana and all these bands that started grunge in the 90's. So it's interesting for me. It's like Bon Jovi hopping in onto the grunge train.
Yeah. The
Although
JBJ flannel area.
yeah, and I think they did a fantastic job.
Oh yeah.
Although you cannot compare because it's totally different Nirvana album to these days, but it totally makes sense with what was happening with music on the 90's.
Yeah, and I'll say I wanted to say one other thing too, but before I do that, to what you just said, you're right because 95, these days became a huge monster hit overseas. Here in America, it tanked, and sadly, it did. It was perfect, but at the time of here in America, America's all about the hits, that 3 minute hit. But we were transitioning from grunge to boy band, pop girl, pop music, like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and 98 Degrees, and Britney Spears, and blah blah blah. And so this time, rock and roll and bands like Bon Jovi just weren't in the radar anymore. I mean, the radio barely played their music here in
Yeah.
America during these days. And so these days was kind of just like an overlooked album. But overseas, everywhere, it was just massive. I mean, it was a fan favorite. To this day, it's like that. I feel bad because it's such an amazing album and it's overlooked, especially to like the newer fans or the general fans. Oftentimes a lot of people, I've met people who kind of know a lot about Bon Jovi, like Keep the Faith and Bounce and all those albums, but they're like, oh, these days, what's that? It's like, oh, like
Yeah.
like you're missing out on an amazing treasure. Like
Yeah.
that is like the epitome of Bon Jovi, the best of the best.
I know, and I'm a little bit relieved that you mentioned this because I thought that was something about Latin America, about Mexico, because it happened the same here. These days, nobody knew about these days besides the fans, but and a lot of people were like, "What, Bon Jovi? No, New Jersey. That was the last of Bon Jovi. Even Keep the Faith wasn't such a big hit here in Mexico." So people like think about Bon Jovi ended with New Jersey. It's funny, but it's something that I think we fans have to live with. That people are still surprised when you talk about Bon Jovi and Bon Jovi new album in 2020, or hopefully there's a new album coming this year or next year. So Yeah, it's kind of sad as a fan when you get those comments like, "What, Bon Jovi still?"
Yeah, but I don't care because I'm happy
Yeah.
with what they're doing. But what I really think revitalized the band was Crush and On, because in 2000, pop was just it. And they kind of, I mean, they had a poppy sound, but they really had, they went from like a 40% pop sound to 70% pop sound. And that's my post 2000s is my favorite era of Bon Jovi. I love the pop rock, albums like Crush and Bounce, and Have a Nice Day was a little more edgier. So was Bounce a little bit, but with poppy a little bit. Uh, and Circle was kind of more of a rock, but you get what I'm saying. So I
Yeah.
think post 2000 they kind of revitalized themselves and were relevant, because they at the time they're like, what, we're still relevant. We're here, 15, 16 years later as a band, we're still here.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I'm kind of taken away from these days. I want to go back into these days real quick. The other thing I wanted to say about these days that I absolutely love about the depth of songs are the love songs. They're not necessarily "I love you, baby, I'll be there for you" love
I'll
songs.
do that
They're
for you.
they're all breakup songs, and you kind of wonder where these songs came from because John was already in a great marriage. Richie was getting married, and so, but songs like this ain't even something for the pain. The message and something for the pain was going through hard times and breakup. But this ain't a love song. Lie to me. Or it's hard letting you go. Hearts breaking even. Um, if that's what it takes, is kind of back and forth. But all those songs are about loss and going through a breakup and stuff. So, I remember I've been through when I was going through breakups and stuff. Man, I'd put on "It's Hard Letting You Go." That song itself just puts you in a mood. It's more of a somber song that you put on, you have on repeat, and you just let all out of all of your emotions. Man,
Yeah.
some of the breakups that I've gone through are pretty tough, and I'd play that song over and over and over, and man,
Yeah, it's a very specific and very special mood that from that song. If you are feeling down, it probably will bring you even below that. I mean,
yeah,
it's a very strong song. It's a very strong
yeah,
song. I also recall friends saying to me, I got a lot of memories because my friends even tease me about the Bon Jovi fan thing. But my friend saying, "What? That is so depressing. Why do you listen to that song?"
yeah.
But yeah,
I
yeah,
love see. I'm a sucker for depressing music, and I will pick a slow, sad song over a uplifting sad song. I know that's crazy, but it's true. And I'm a pretty happy, positive person, and I'm not depressed or anything. But man, I just love songs that have depth into it and sadness leading to optimism. Those kind of songs.
yeah. It's all about the feeling that
Yep.
yeah, those songs bring to you. So yeah,
Yep.
and speaking about the ballads, I think um, this ain't a love song is the one that connects a little bit with the previous Bon Jovi. I think it's
Yeah.
the one that it's a little bit closer to "I'll Be There for You" and this 80s power ballads.
Yeah.
But again, with this 90s grunge thing
Yeah.
going on, uh, it's one of my favorite ballads from the band.
And with what I said earlier, kind of to talk about how those ballads on these days is kind of more of a breakup, it's over kind of thing. This Ain't a Love Song is kind of more of a standout to the other ballads on there, because This Ain't a Love Song is more of like a confession of love. Like, if all that I'm feeling is wrong, then what's love? This ain't love. But
Mhm.
it is. It is love, because you're having all these emotions. And I just love it. And I love the way that they performed it on that tour. Especially Live from London is a perfect example when they did this Ain't a Love Song, and at the end, John, throws his mic stand, gets on his hands and knees, and finishes off the song and gets up and starts to slowly fade away and walks off the stage. You know, and side note, I loved how they did it with "I'll Be There for You" on the last tour. That was cool. So it's cool to see that again. But this ain't a love song. I'd love to see that live again. I miss seeing that one.
Yeah, that's a great live song also.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple other things about these days, because I can keep going and going. I want to talk about the European bonus disc. So Europe gets all these cool things. So obviously they got like they got Bitter Wine, All I Want Is Everything on their standard edition. And then they also got like a blue, but I have it all downstairs, and I should have brought it up for this discussion. But they, well, the whole world got like this limited edition black box set, which I have. It's downstairs. It's, a holy grail of these days collection. And then there's also the blue these days CD. Fans are watching this, they know what they're talking, what
Yeah,
we're talking about. All the Bon Jovi fans know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
And so
Instead of orange, it's blue.
yeah, the band's different, so it's not the same picture, but it's the same photography set and all that, but they're in different positions and looking differently. But I really loved it. So we got the standard album, and then we got another disc of like bonus outtakes and live tracks. One of the things that I really loved was their cover. I think Rolling Stones did this on Tumbling Dice, but David sings it on that CD. Man, I love that. That is cool.
Yeah.
Or
Very cool.
what else? There was the outtakes, I think, were or Prostitute. I think Wedding Day was on there. But I know the covers, if I remember correctly. I Don't Like Mondays, Crazy, Tumbling Dice, and Heaven Help Us.
I don't know if Let's Make It Baby was on that one too.
Yep, that's on there. But that was actually New Jersey demo that got put on there. So either way, now there's 4 Bon Jovi songs I don't like. Let's Make It Baby is one of them. So
why not? It's a great song. I mean, it's all crazy and dirty, but it's a great song.
A lot of people like it. No, I ain't one of them. If I'm the only person in the world that doesn't like it, well, I stand alone.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't play it in front of my kids or my mom, but it's definitely how the interpretation. Wow.
Like I said, I love the band's catalog. There's only 4 songs out of the whole catalog that I don't like. That's one of them.
But, we have to talk about the other 3. I'm curious.
Okay.
Maybe later, but
so we can start this discussion now.
Okay.
Because I'm going to ask you the same thing here. I'm going to actually write this down.
All right.
So the other 3 that I don't like is it's another New Jersey one. Temptation. I hate Temptation.
Yeah, that's
a Whole Lot of Leaving. I can't get into that one. It's not that Whole Lot of Leaving is a bad song, but I can't. It killed it for me live, because it was one of those songs that was always in the beginning of the band's set on, Circle Tour, What About Now tour, This House tour, and it's like the 3rd or 4th song, like, you have those first 3 songs live that are just amped up in your face, and then they go into Whole Lot of Leaving as like a coming down song. It just, I don't know. I mean, I'll appreciate it for like Do We Still Got It Anymore, the way that they did that live, but overall I couldn't get into that song. I just, the guitar work on it I don't like. The lyrically it's good. Lyrically I think it's great, but just but it's funny because in the fall I'll play it, because the first verse, it's pretty cool for late September. The autumn wind's been creeping, the summer sun's back, it's long gone. There's a whole lot of leaving going on. But so out of the 4, that's probably the one I can tolerate. And then the 4th one is Come On Up to Our House. It sounds like a Barney song. It sounds like a song that would be, I'm talking, the TV show Barney the Big Purple Dinosaur. It sounds like I love you, you love me, we're happy. Like it's a good message in the song, but it just sounds like we're all sitting in a circle holding hands, and it just.
I totally agree with that one. Not with a Whole Lot of Living. I love that song,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the
Uh,
coming up to our house is I don't like it either.
I got one more actually. So I got five. I lied to you. All Hail the King. I can't. I can't stand that one. Come on up to our house and Whole Lot Leaving. I can tolerate and somewhat get into here or there, but the three I cannot ever listen to: Temptation, Let's Make It Baby, and All Hail the King. Oh, I can't stand All Hail the King. Yeah, but
Yeah.
now I gotta hear the ones. How many do you? Uh, which one do you not like?
To be honest, I have never thought about it like these are my 5 or 3 or 10
Okay,
I don't
worst
like.
song that you cannot stand at all, that you can never listen to.
Uh, Jesus, you said people are going to hate you. They're going to hate me more about this. But I don't like. I just don't like the original version for uh, "Who Says You Can't Go Home."
So the band version, not the Jennifer Nettles
The
version.
band version. No, I like it with Jennifer because it
Yeah,
makes a lot
she,
more.
she,
Like,
her voice is so sexy. I, back to Do What You Can. That's kind of how it was for me with Do What You Can. I like the original Do What You Can, but then I loved it a lot more with that country twang, and then Jennifer Nettles singing, and she just sounds
yeah,
hot.
I
And
agree with Do What You Can also. Don't like the original version that much also. I think that um, Who Says You Can't Go Home and Do What You Can, although they talk about very different things, but they are sort of in the same. I don't know what it is, to be honest, but I just don't. I mean, I skip them when they play. But with Jennifer Nettles, I think both songs were a
yeah,
big upgrade, getting into this uh, country style, which by the way I think is one of the things about going back to this other song you mentioned. I'm sorry, the one from Lost Highway you don't like.
hold on, leave him.
Whole lot of living. I think that's part of what this album was about this sort of getting a little bit into country, and this song the guitar. I don't know if it's a guitar, if it's a banjo or what.
It's guitar on
It's
a whole lot.
song,
Yeah,
but I think it gets you into that country mood, which I'm not a big fan of country music, to be honest, but this mix of country rock
yeah.
sometimes throws or brings us this kind of songs that I do like a lot of living. Uh,
As a last topic, I kind of want to go back and talk a little bit about Jennifer Nettles. And you know what? You said when you first got into what song you don't like, you said a lot of fans would hate you. But actually, just from talking with a lot of my friends in the Bon Jovi fandom, a lot of people actually agree with you. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and a lot of people are like, you know what, the original band, track number 4 and Have a Nice Day didn't get me so good on that song. But and you know what, this is proof as far as charts go, because the band did release the original Who Says You Can't Go Home, and it didn't do that well. But then they released the country version with Jennifer Nettles, and I mean that was just a monster. That was almost like a "It's My Life" thing for the band. It just rejuvenated the band, and it was just a massive song. And obviously, like you said, it was just it was a gateway to Lost Highway album. But same thing. If I remember correctly, 2 years ago, which actually today is the anniversary, July 23rd, is the anniversary of Do What You Can band version. 2 years already. And then we got Jennifer Nettles, I think September 23rd. And I remember when the band version came out 2 years ago, it was in the charts, it was in the news and all, but it wasn't as big as I was expecting it to be. But then the Jennifer Nettles version came out and was just huge. And I love Jennifer Nettles, and she's great. Her voice is sexy. She's an awesome person. She makes great music, but Jennifer Nettles isn't exactly huge, and she's definitely not as huge as Bon Jovi. So she's not making the band bigger because she's in the song, like. But I think just those two coming together, it was like a Who Says You Can't Go Home 2.0. It just makes the song so much better.
Yeah.
And just, I think for both songs, I will agree with you. I do think both versions with Jennifer Nettles is a lot better than the original band version.
Yep. Totally. Totally.
Yeah. I think the way that John and Jennifer sing together with, Do What You Can, you get a lot more goosebumps and that country twang in it. I mean, that makes you really think about, what we were going through in the pandemic. And yeah, I'm with you on those.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm going to also mention, I was thinking about this while you spoke. There's another song, and of course the original is a legendary song, but this Left Field Feels Right version, I just think that was such a big mistake, Living on a Prayer.
oh, so a lot of people don't realize this. Living on a Prayer on This Life Feels Right. So there's two different versions. The first version was sung by a Russian lady, and for some reason the music company didn't like it, and they said, no, we don't want to put this on the album. And so it only got released on the Russian edition, and it sounds pretty good. It's a shame it didn't get released. Anyway.
This is the first time I've heard about this.
Okay, yeah. So when Living on a Prayer was first recorded for This Life Feels Right, like I said, the record company didn't like it. The Russian singer, she said it just didn't blend well with John's vocals, and so it got put out in just Russia, the Russian edition. So the producer, I'm drawing a blank on the producer of This Life Feels Right. It'll come back to me. But anyway, so the producer, it's like, okay, who do we get to sing the song with you? And so they got the producer's wife, Olivia Dabo, to sing with John on Living on a Prayer. And that version is a lot better. But a lot of people don't realize that was the producer's wife, I believe.
Okay.
So
I didn't know it. He was a producer's wife. I of course know her for this TV show, the Wonder Years.
Yeah. So I'm looking up. I want to make sure that I'm right because I don't want to steer. My Bon Jovi knowledge is pretty good. So I think I'm right, but I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction of knowledge here. So I'm going to Google real quick and just make sure that I am right. Okay. So Patrick Leonard. I was saying Leonard something, but it's actually Patrick Leonard.
Okay.
And then let me see if I can find Olivia Dabo. And she was she was married to Patrick, so it was his wife. So I was right. I was right with everything. Okay. Patrick, not to toot my horn here, but yeah, but they actually divorced in 2012, I guess it says here. But so that's kind of some. So not a lot of people know that. So I know on Twitter and stuff, I kind of talked about. People are like, really? Like, yeah, it's kind of like one of those fun Bon Jovi facts,
Yes.
But anyway, so as you were saying, I know I got sidetracked from you on that, but as you were saying about it.
Yeah. So again, I don't like it. That's
I love it.
An album that has such ups and downs. I mean, Bad Medicine, Wanted. I think they did great jobs to do this.
Okay.
Twisted versions.
I love this Left Feels Right album. I think I love it more because that album was something that I had when my parents were divorcing, and it was just something new for me, something fresh in my life. I was a kid too. 2003, so I was 11. And so, we go back to the Walkman. I had the portable CD player with the AA batteries and the big headphones. And I mean, that was something new in my life, and just seeing my parents fight and divorce and stuff, so that was something fresh for me. I think that's why I love the album so much.
Yeah, of course, the moment you're living when an album comes out makes a big difference on how you look and how you listen to those albums. So yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know, it's difficult to think about songs that I hate. Uh,
Yeah. I
Probably
focus
most
on
would
negative.
be. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say that probably the majority would be on the, um, let's say, on the after Have a Nice Day era. To be honest, I'm a big fan, and I still uh, listen to Bon Jovi almost every day. But I'm more, and I know, and I know all of the songs, all of the albums, all of the songs. But for me, it's like they reached the peak, and then I don't want to say that it came down uh, uh, roughly, but they haven't been the same as in.
Yeah.
I like very much Have a Nice Day. I think
Yeah.
it's going a little bit back to the New Jersey
Yeah.
style.
Back to that rock sound. Yeah.
Yeah, rock sound. I mean, I'm a sucker for ballads, the power ballads.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Make Memory is one of my
Yeah.
favorite Bon Jovi songs,
That's
which
my.
was after that. But my top songs would always be on the first group. Let's say if we talk about two Bon Jovi groups, and not necessarily on this Crush uh, era that I know Crush is like where many people think about before and after Crush. Uh, I think more about Have a Nice Day. Um, when was Have a Nice Day?
September 2005.
2005. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the I don't know how to say it in English, but the before and after for me, uh, for
Yeah.
Bon Jovi.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I think, before we conclude here, I think Have a Nice Day was kind of back to the, they say that with the Circle album, but Have a Nice Day, I think, was back to that rock root that they had, with Crush and Bounce, which I think are fantastic albums. That those albums were more of a pop rock, heavier pop sound. With Bounce, it was definitely a pop rock album, but songs like Undivided, Hook Me Up, and Bounce, those three were kind of more of a heavier rock sound. But the
Hmm.
rest of the album, like Every Day, Misunderstood, All About Loving You, and all the other songs were definitely more poppy, which I love.
Yeah,
But I think
yeah,
with Have a Nice Day, they kind of revitalized, because if you look at it, there's not really a love song ballad on
exactly.
on the album. It's
Mhm.
it's very socially um, album, and back to that rock root thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of this rock root, but also with this social, also conscience in so many songs. I mean, for example, "Welcome to Wherever You Are." That's one of my favorites, and
Uh,
it has such a powerful lyrics, and the song is great. I mean, who I don't imagine someone not liking
it, it's
"Welcome to Wherever You Are."
It's a huge fan favorite, and it was a single, and it's such a shame that it tanked. I think Have a Nice Day kind of overshadowed it, and Who Says, but Welcome to Wherever You Are was a single in a lot of countries, and it tanked on the charts. But I never cared about charts or what critics said. My thing is, if I like the song, I like it.
Yeah,
But with Welcome to Wherever You, like you said, I don't know how anybody can not like it, because it's such a song that anyone can relate to. Whether you listen to the lyrics or you watch the music video, it teaches you that we're all in this world together. You're no better than me. I'm no better than you.
exactly.
And we all make mistakes, and
And you
we're
have,
all in different parts of our lives.
yeah, and you have to appreciate the moment, even if it's a not such a good moment. You have to appreciate because there's always something good and it's that, as it says, the beginning, the end of a new beginning.
Every new beginning is some beginning's end, which
Exactly.
to me means aspects of life. One door closes, another door opens. So
Exactly.
yeah. Well, anyway, buddy, we're out of time here, but we had a great discussion. I really enjoyed chatting with you here, and I'm glad you took the time out of your busy day to come on and chat with me. We, talked about a lot of things, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for the invite, Jerry. It was very fun, and I hope we can do this again soon. I know you have a big list of people waiting, but if
Yeah.
we can do it again, I'd be so happy to.
Yeah, I know. I think you signed up to be on it for like 2 years ago, and my list is literally, I think I have like 400 or 500 people that want to be on it and signed up to be on it. So I'm just going down the list person to person, and so I got enough guests, and I got some surprises coming too, but I got enough guests to last me for the next 5 years. So. But
That's great. You have a lot of
so what I'm
material.
trying to say is thank you for being patient and waiting your turn, and I was glad to have you on.
Yeah, don't worry, Jerry. I totally understand, and also congrats for your Twitter. It's amazing how you have all this info, and that's why I was saying I consider myself one of the biggest fans, at least in Mexico. But next to you, it's like, oh my God, this guy knows so much, has so much stuff, and I
But
probably would
I,
have a lot of stuff like you do. If back in the 80s or 90s we had internet, I probably had bought so much stuff, but there was nothing. So it was kind of difficult getting hold of so many things.
yeah, and I leave it with this. I'll always say though, no fan is better than the other. Just because you have more of this or more of this or you've been to more shows does not mean you're a bigger fan at all. I think, we're all equal as fans. What matters at the end of the day, we love the band.
Exactly.
The music grabs us and we share a big part of our lives with the music and the band and in return of that, this band has given me so many incredible friends like you. So I always say no fan is better than the other. It doesn't matter if you've only been to one show or you've been to 100, you're still as equal. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks again, buddy, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks again for the invite.
All right. You stay safe, okay, buddy?
Likewise, Jerry. Bye bye.